Good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Cynthia. How are you? How you doing? Good to see you, girl. How you doing, girlie? How was your trip? Just been busy? Yeah. Yeah. How's the kids doing? I hope everybody is having a blessed, simple day today. This case is coming out of South Africa. I have never done a case that has come out of South Africa. I cover any type, any race, any area, any cases because crime is crime and true crime is true crime. And when it comes to a missing person, an adult, children, I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna cover it all. Hi, Kathy B. Give me 1 second, y'all. My curtain. Let me just, I don't know. Let me fix my curtain a little bit. Yeah, when it comes to any true crime, the girl's got to cover it, honey. So it don't matter where it's from. But what I notice is I have not covered a case from South Africa before. So yeah, I was like, okay, this is different. This is different, but it needs to be shed. And this is a 2017 case. Okay. Excuse me. This is a 2017 case. Okay. So I'm gonna cover it. Also I've been doing uploads again. So please check that out because those are definitely missing cases. Those uploads are cases that need to be awareness. Those are missing females that are not getting that much coverage. That in the beginning it might have gotten a little bit of coverage and then it died down and then it died more down and then you just don't hear about it no more. So you know me, I'm gonna definitely pull those back up. And what I do is I just do the uploads of those. So please check that out. And please share the video and the uploads that I do as well. Because, I mean, if we're gonna, say that, and this is not for, this is for anybody. I'm talking in general. If we're gonna say that we are here spreading awareness and we're here supporting and we're here helping the families, we gotta share the kids' pictures. We gotta, you know, um, click and share. We just can't roll by them. And then when they become dead or unalive or anything, then we want to share it. I see a lot of people on Facebook that do that. They click and roll by, and then when they find out the person's unalive, then they decide to share it. Well, it's about too late then. We try to prevent that from happening, so try to share it before that. Oh, my nose is itching. Hell. So, that's with that. But yeah, this case is coming out of South Africa. I want to first say thank you for those of that you are going to join me tonight. I appreciate you, ladies. I appreciate everyone that have subbed to my channel. I appreciate everyone that has been rocking and sticking by me. Um, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. I know you guys got lives too, but you do take the time out to stop by, and I appreciate that. I am. You could tell. Yeah, my allergies. Yeah, yeah. I have allergies. Girl, I got everything. I got my nose spray. I don't use it. Oh, I got some Claritin. It's crazy because my nose wasn't itching all day today. Just now started itching in when I got like my it wasn't bothering me all day today. All day today. It took just now. I went over there by the window, I think. That's what it was. My window is open over there and the trees and everything. So it might be the pollen. That's exactly what it is. I just because it wasn't bothering me until I went over there by the window. So that might be it. Courtney was last seen alive on May 4th, 2017. Okay. Now, this is strange because that's why they say be careful who you invite in your home. Be careful who you surround yourself with. Be careful of the men you surround your children with. Now, this man was living in the same home with Courtney and her mother. The mother gave this man a place to stay. Unbelievable. And he does the unthinkable, the most horrific thing you can ever think of and do to a child. Now, we have some news coverage clips, of course, because I love visual. I love documentary visuals. Uh, well, I don't like documentary visuals. I like news coverage with you guys, and I like to do reaction videos. So we're going to be doing that, and we're going to be looking at news coverage also. So I'm going to show you the reaction video first. I want to tell you to bear and get ready because we've dealt with a lot of heartbroken cases. We've dealt with a lot of tears, a lot of shake me up moments. But this one, if you have kids, then you know. So remind you again, this is coming out of South Africa. I also have my disclaimer up, and I don't have intentions to spread false holes of any theories. I mentioned purely my own opinion. I am not claiming them to be facts of any way. I do understand I might find incorrect information sometimes, but correct me in the comments down below. Thank you. Now, the reason I'm not going to tell you about the video because it's a reaction video, and then I will spoil it for you guys. And I have not seen the video, but I don't want to tell you the story because then I will spoil it for you guys. But I would just tell you this. It's a shame you think you know somebody and you try to help people and you invite people into your home where you live at just for them to do some righteous, most spitefulest, heartbroken, outrageous, grimiest shit like this.
The Western Cape to an informal suburb named Alsace River in Cape Town, where Courtney Pieters was born on the 4th of September of 2013 to mother Yonette Pieters, who was a cashier at Hungry Lion, and father Aaron Fourie, who worked at one of the factories in Cape Town. Although her parents were not legally married, they had been together for many years, to an extent of which they had 3 other kids, the oldest being 21. They had a 16-year-old as well as a 6-year-old son, whose name was Adrian. In Alsace River, they stayed in a house that belonged to Courtney's father's family. So in essence, the house was a communal home because his extended family had access to the house. The house was a double story. It had a Wendy house right in front, as well as a couple of back rooms. In the main house, they lived alone. Aaron, the father, Yonette, the mother, Courtney, as well as the little brother. The 2 older siblings were no longer living at home. In the Wendy house that stood right in front of the main house, Courtney's father's niece stayed there. Her name is Marsha Wen. Marsha lived in the Wendy house with her 2 kids, one who was in primary school and the other who was just a few months old at the time. Right behind the house, there was a back room where Mortimer Saunders rented. Mortimer was a 40-year-old man who was very close friends with Courtney's father. He worked at a call center at the V&A waterfront, and he was considered to be part of the family. And around this time, he had stayed at the family home for over 2 years. Though Mortimer was extremely close with Aaron, the father, he did not really get along with Yonette, Courtney's mother, and the 2 would occasionally argue with one another, with Yonette sometimes feeling like Mortimer would cross the line of tenant a couple of times and basically making them feel a little bit uncomfortable around the house. However, he was really loved by the kids, and not just Courtney and the 6-year-old brother, but the neighbors' kids as well. And one of the main reasons they loved him so much is because he had DSTV in his bedroom and would allow the kids to watch some cartoons, and they really enjoyed that. Courtney Pieters was 3 years old in 2017 and was not attending school yet. And the 6-year-old brother was also not in school in May of 2017. So the kids stayed at home. What the mother would do is she would pay the niece who stayed in the Wendy house to babysit them while she went to work, and she normally left around 7 a.m. and came back at 4 p.m. However, when money was tight, she would leave them together. Courtney and her 6-year-old brother would take care of one another. And she would rest assured at least that there are always people around the yard. And Marsha, even on days that she wasn't paid, she would occasionally go inside the house and go check on the kids. Today, I'm back with another true crime video, and we are going to be doing the call center at the V&A waterfront. Courtney Pieters was 3 years old in 2017 and was not attending school yet.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rewind it. So the mother gives this man a place to stay in her back home because, hey, why not? My husband knows him and they're friends. So yeah, I'll give you a place to stay. But she's very, very uncomfortable. Well, she's a little uncomfortable and she feels like he's crossing boundaries. So that's a red flag right there. But the kids love him. And the next door neighbor, they adore him. The kids love him because he's probably a big kid or so, but he's 40 years old man. But he also has that TV in his room. So the kids go in there and he lets them watch cartoons and stuff. So if he has that TV in his room, I'm gathering, thinking that they probably don't have television in their home because the mother is having some financial issues. She can't pay for a babysitter all the time. As you heard them say, sometimes she pays her niece to babysit, but when money is tight, she relies on the 6 years old to babysit the little sister. So I'm just wondering if they had things like TV, stuff like that, microwave or appliances or stuff like that. Because maybe that's why the kids love to go in the guy's room because he had a TV. So they was able to watch cartoons. Because if they had their own TV, they would be in their domain. I don't know. I'm just wondering. But nevertheless, they're here. Let's continue. Yeah, and for time to feel weird, it's time to go, Kathy B. Exactly.
And the 6-year-old brother was also not in school in May of 2017. So the kids stayed at home. What the mother would do is she would pay the niece who stayed in the Wendy house to babysit them while she went to work, and she normally left around 7 a.m. and came back at 4 p.m. However, when money was tight, she would leave them together. Courtney and her 6-year-old brother would take care of one another. And she would rest assured at least that there are always people around the yard. And Masha, even on days that she wasn't paid, she would occasionally go inside the house and go check on the kids. So the setup of the house was like this. Everyone in the yard shared one toilet and one bathroom, meaning Marsha and her kids in the Wendy house and the people that stayed in the back rooms all shared the one toilet and the one bathroom that was in the upstairs of the main house. So this meant that the main house was always open to allow everyone access to the toilet as and when they needed it. On Thursday, the 4th of May 2017, Yonette and her husband Aaron prepared for work in the morning as per usual. Aaron, who was working in one of the factories in Cape Town, left first, and Courtney's mother would stay around a little bit to prepare some porridge and sort out everything for them before she left. Unfortunately, on this day, she didn't have money to pay Marsha to look after the kids, but wasn't really worried, like I've mentioned earlier on, because on days that she didn't have money, she normally left 3-year-old Courtney and her 6-year-old brother together, and they would look after one another. Marsha, even on the days that she wasn't paid, she was willing to occasionally come inside the house and check on them to make sure that everything was fine. And if she needed to make them food, she would do so. But she later explained that she did not dedicate her whole day to them as she would if she was paid. So Yonette gave the kids porridge and left for work. A few minutes after Courtney's mom left for work, Mortimer went inside the house to use the bathroom as he normally did and saw the kids watching TV. It's important to note that inside the main house, they did not have DSTV, they just had normal SABC 1, 2, and 3 and ATV channels. When
Okay.
Mortimer went back to his room after using the bathroom, 3-year-old Courtney decided to follow him because she remembered, oh, Mortimer is DSTV, so let me follow him. I want to go watch there rather. So remember, this is still not out of the ordinary because the kids normally watch TV in Mortimer's room. However, it was later revealed that when Courtney got to the room on this particular morning, Mortimer was irritated by her. And these were the words that he used. He told Courtney to leave his room as he wanted to sleep and
Hey,
come back later.
Cherish.
So Courtney went back into the main house and watched TV some more with the little brother. However, if you know toddlers, then you will know that they do not understand the concept of time. So 5 to 10 minutes later, little Courtney went back to Mortimer's room to try again.
So, hey, Cherish, Mama, how are you? So the little girl, so like I was saying before, they didn't have certain channel. Well, I didn't think they had TV, but they just didn't have certain channels. So the little girl goes into his room because she's used to it. You know what I mean? He had already opened that door. Once you open a door to a child where they're getting used to something, she's just not gonna stop. You already let them watch TV constantly in your room. So there she goes, you know? So now he's irritated. He's irritated by her and he tells her, "Get out my room." So she goes and then she comes back again. Is this when it becomes unbearable? Is this when the unthinkable happens?
I completely understand this. Toddlers are toddlers, guys. So it's just normal. That is just how toddlers operate. However, when Courtney returned to his room the second time, Mortimer could just not handle it. He later mentioned that he got so irritated by this 3-year-old who woke him up, and also compounded by the fact that he had ill feelings towards her mother. He was just at the end. He got extremely angry with her. Now, while all of this was happening, Marsha, the niece, who stayed in the Wendy house, woke up and walked her oldest daughter to a primary school nearby. And then when she got back to the Wendy house, she fed her little baby. And at 8 a.m., she went inside the main house for the first time that morning. When she walked into the house, she saw Adrian, the 6-year-old brother, watching television by himself. She then asked him, "Where is Courtney?" He replied that she was watching TV in Uncle Morty's room. She nodded and proceeded to do whatever she came to do inside the house. And later, when she noticed that Courtney wasn't back yet, she started to call out her name just to check if she really was in Morty's room. Courtney, Courtney. Please kindly note that this video is 2 parts, and I will have part 2 linked in the description box of this particular video.
So, this is part 1. So now we have the little girl goes inside as she normally do. Mind you, she's a baby. She's 3 years old? She goes in there because, like I said, he already opened the door to, you know, and I don't mean the door like the door handle. I mean, he already put that in their mindset that you could come in here and watch TV because he already started doing that. So she's already used to doing it. So now you're kicking the little girl out, which I get. You want your privacy. You're probably tired of the baby kids coming inside and stuff. All right, fine. But kids are kids. They're not going to listen. Okay, and it's like 2 or 3 of them, honey child, please. So she goes back in and she comes right back in his room again. And this time, she wasn't asked to get out. Okay, because now family is starting to wonder, where is she? Where's little Courtney? Oh, oh, hey, hey, baby girl. Oh, well, she's in Uncle Martino, whatever his name is, room watching cartoons. Well, now it's getting later in the day. She's still in there. So now she's calling them and calling her and no answer. Is this when the unthinkable happens? Let's see.
Second time. He then decides that he's going to poison her with ant poison. Would later mention in court that he had bought the ant poison months before because he had an ant problem in his room. He proceeded to get a glass of water and mixed it with poison and gave it to Courtney to drink. However, little Courtney did not like the taste of the water and she immediately spat it out, but unfortunately, she had already ingested some of it. Courtney started looking weak and woozy, and it was at this moment that Mortimer heard Marsha calling out her name from the inside, "Courtney, Courtney." He immediately started to panic because Courtney was still alive but was somewhat unconscious, so he didn't want her to be discovered in his room in such a state. He later claimed that this is when he decided to insert a towel into her mouth and strangled her until she was no more, and then found a blanket and put her body in a corner and covered it with it. Marsha was still calling out for Courtney and she decided to walk towards Mortimer's room, and she asked from the outside if Courtney was still watching TV.
So he got so annoyed with the 3 years old little girl that he decided to get ant poison and poison her? What the hell was wrong in his sick mind? Instead of closing your door and putting a sign over it, leave me alone. Or don't answer your door. There's other ways that you can get a kid away from you if you want private time for just you, instead of giving them ant poison. He looks like a damn ant. And see, this is the thing. This is the problem. Watch who you have around your children. This mother was no friend of his. She let him live there because her husband knew this man. So she was nice enough to give him a place to stay. But remember in the beginning, she felt uneasy because he started crossing certain boundaries and it just was making her feel uncomfortable. But she still let him live there because the kids adored him. Next door neighbor loved him and he needed a place to stay. I'm sure she didn't think that he would do something like this to her kids. But you must watch who you have around your babies.
And Massimo came out with the door slightly open and basically told her that no, she left just a few minutes ago. She's no longer here. Marsha said okay and went back to the Wendy house to take care of her little baby. Now, heartbreaking revelation in court, Mortimer confessed that
Jesus, she
after
do look
this,
like
he
an ant.
uncovered Courtney's body, which he had placed in the corner, and proceeded to sexually assault her post mortem. An hour later, she went into the house once more and asked Adrian if Courtney had come back. Adrian said no, she's still not back. She then asked the brother to please go to the neighboring houses and looked for Courtney where she normally played. Marcia went back to her Wendy house once more, and Adrian, the little brother, went looking for Courtney in the neighboring houses. It was during this time that Mortimer decided to take the opportunity to go dispose of Courtney's body. He then packs her into a small shopping bag. It was then later revealed in court that he then, after putting her into a shopping bag, he took one of his backpacks and broke some of her bones in order for her to fit in the backpack. Like, how evil can one be? He then looked outside to check if no one was around, and after he had confirmed that, he put Courtney's body over his shoulder and went out. CCTV footage captures him walking from Elsa's River with Courtney's body over his shoulders all the way to Epping Industrial Area. The first camera captures him at a busy intersection road, passing cars and office building casually as if he's not carrying a deceased baby. He follows this path and turns into an open field. He gets tired next to a train rail and takes a break for a few minutes. And then we see him again walking alongside the railway, and he goes into a small plot and he found a tree there where he removed her from the backpack and places her under this tree. He then tries to look for stuff to cover her with. He finds a couple of newspapers and then he quickly leaves her at this area, and you can see him walking away and makes his way back to Elsa's River. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Mortimer arrives back to the house And with him, he has a printed CV for Marsha. Marsha had asked him a few weeks ago to please type and print a CV for her because she wanted to start applying for jobs. Mortimer knocked at Marsha's room and basically says to her, "No, I just got back from the library. I had some work to do, and I also actually got the time to finally do that CV you asked me to do for you." And then he hands it over to her, and she's actually pretty happy about it and thanked him. Just before he turns around to leave, he asks, did Courtney finally come back? And she actually says, no, they're still looking for her. And he mentioned that, you know what, when I was walking to the library, I actually looked around as well, and I didn't see her anywhere. And then he also said that, in the morning when she came to our room, I did see her speaking to the man who stays opposite our house. He said this as he was walking towards his room and left Marsha. Marsha was left panicking at this point, and she was really, really getting worried. And she thought, okay, maybe she should also start looking and leave the house. 4 p.m., Yonette returned from work, and the 6-year-old quickly rushed to her and said, Courtney is lost, Mom. We haven't seen Courtney the whole day. She's lost, she's missing, she's lost. And Yonette immediately dropped all her bags and she started looking aggressively for her daughter. At around 7 p.m. in the evening, they had still not found Courtney. At this point, they decided to call their local police station and report her missing. However, the police didn't immediately take the case seriously. While on the other hand, the community was out on the ground and they were all aggressively looking for Courtney throughout the night. Everyone in Alsace River started looking for Courtney. The news of the missing baby quickly caught momentum on social media as well as general media.
And don't forget this, guys, the ladies, this is in South Africa. So this monster had the nerve to know what to know what he did and tried to blame it on the other neighbor. Oh, I saw her talking to the other neighbor, but mother effer. Wow, unbelievable. I'm telling you something, these killers are something else. They will help you look for your child, knowing that they unalived your child. Unbelievable.
Missing persons posters were put
I
out,
see you know,
and the
but I don't want to
hashtag
tell you
Find
this story.
Courtney started trending. And the next day, Courtney's mother went on national television and begged for her daughter's return.
Hmm. Can't hear nothing.
This is including Mortimer. Mortimer was one of the main
I
people
don't
who
know
were
why I
literally
was like this.
trying to find Courtney when he knew exactly where
I'll
he
show you
put her.
another clip of them talking.
Also, we had the police minister at the time, Fikile Mbalula, went to visit the family and they pledged that they would help with all the resources that they had to try and find Courtney. Days went by and the community did not stop searching. They were searching day in and day out. And on the 10th day, a woman who was part of the search team thought she saw something and proceeded to walk towards it. And unfortunately, under a tree and a small plot in an industrial park in Epping, she found the body of Courtney Pieters. It was immediately positively identified as Courtney because they knew exactly what she was wearing. She had a pair of shorts on which had embroidery. And when they noticed it was actually not closed, the zipper was opened. And an autopsy later confirmed that indeed Courtney was violated. The police started to look for evidence, And they caught their first break when they realized that there was actually CCTV surveillance cameras in the area which Courtney was found, meaning whoever had put her there would have been caught on camera. They got the footage and looked at it and decided to release it out to everyone in the community because someone might recognize him. And lo and behold, one man did. A man named Gail Barron, who was Mortimer's childhood friend, also stayed in the area, said that he 100% was sure that that was Mortimer. He
Mm-hmm.
told the police that he grew up with this guy and he could spot his walk from a distance. Plus, he was wearing the kinds of clothes that Mortimer had. The police then decided that they would bring canine dogs to the Peters house. And the moment the dogs got into the yard, they immediately ran towards Mortimer's room. The police decided that there was enough probable cause and decided to call Mortimer in for questioning. After a lengthy interrogation, Mortimer decided to confess, but continually explained that actually he raped her after killing her, as if that was okay. Perhaps to him, maybe he thought you lose the rights to your body. Post mortem, I do not get it. But he literally continuously explained throughout his confession that he did not rape her when she was still alive, as if that makes a difference. I don't get it. So later on in court proceedings, when he realized that, you know what, it weighs the same that he raped her post mortem, he decided to change his story and say that no, he did not rape her with his genitals, but rather he used his fingers only. But of course, the post mortem had found some fluids, so that was also a lie.
This sick, twisted bastard who are this baby when she was unalive. Like, so he likes to R dead people, dead babies, actually. Sick. Wow, that sick didn't want time long. He wanted time with the baby. It's crazy, right? Isn't this crazy?
South Africans were outraged because of this case, because of how gruesome it is and who it was particularly done to. The then president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, also visited the family after
I know
the
what you mean.
fact and promised the mother that he would get her a house, considering that this maybe would not have happened if they were staying in their own place without tenants. Baby Courtney was laid to rest in a heartbreaking funeral that was broadcasted on national television. The case went to court and Mortimer was given 2 life sentences. The judge also noted that she would be giving the mother a pardon for negligence and child abandonment and would not be taking away her 6-year-old child because of this, because she said that at least she was not just leaving them and going somewhere else, she was going to try to earn a living. And she has already gone through so much.
So they was trying to hit the mother with charges? Hold on, guys. I mean, ladies, because we got the ladies up in the building tonight, like always. You can't help people these days. No. not sickos like that. And you definitely can't have monsters come live with you and your family and your children without doing a background check. I even think doing a background check won't even give all the info either, because they could still be a psycho without even having anything in their background. You know what I mean? Um, this is a really, really sad case, and we're not even done with it yet because there's so much news footage that I found. It is crazy. This case hit big in Africa. Like, this was a really big case, and I just found out about it. So I was like, oh wow. You know, I was looking on YouTube for something and I saw this case and I was like, what is this? Wow. So this hit really, really big in Africa. The fact that this monster just, he done what he done and couldn't leave her body alone, but he had to awe her, break her bones up, you know, to fit in the bag. It's just mind blowing, just mind blowing. And he should get the death penalty, but 2 life sentence, they will unalive his behind in prison in Africa. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. So this happened in 2017. We're in 2024. Is he even still alive in prison? I'm definitely want to know that.
And raping 3-year-old Courtney Pieters in Elsie's River in Cape Town last year is expected today. For more on the story, across live to our reporter Vanessa Puna, who's outside the Cape Town High Court. Hey, Vanessa. Firstly, before we go into what we can expect today, please just give us some background of how we got here.
Yes, very warm good morning to you. And of course, last year, the little 3-year-old girl, Courtney Pieters, went missing in May last year. After her disappearance, a 9-day search. And then, of course, on the 13th of May last year, her body was found buried in a shallow grave in the Epping industrial area. Now, the man that was arrested the following day is Mortimer Saunders, who is on trial for her murder. A family friend, someone who had lived in the house with Courtney Pieters and her family. And he had joined the search for the girl over the 9 days since she had disappeared. And then, of course, the next day after her body was found, he was then arrested in connection for her murder. He went on trial in May this year. And in his plea explanation, he admitted to having fed the young child ant poison because she was irritating him, and also saying that he was trying to get back at the girl's mother, with whom he had a very strained relationship. Now, the state has brought charges of premeditated murder, but Mortimer Saunders saying that he had indeed poisoned the child, that it did choke her. He has also conceded to necrophilia, and that, of course, is committing a sexual act on a corpse. And this story, this tragic story of the death, the murder of young Courtney Pieters has reached far and wide outside of the borders of South Africa. We know that President Jacob Zuma at the time had visited the parents of Courtney Pieters, describing it as one of the saddest cases that he had ever come across. And of course, in May this year, Mortimer Saunders had gone on trial, and today, day 2 of judgment, where he faces a charge of premeditated murder as well as rape. Now, this matter has brought together community members from across the Cape Flats. Courtney Pieters' murder last year, she was one of about 60 children in the Western Cape that had gone missing and that who had been found murdered, according to statistics released by NGOs and others. And joining me is one of those community members, Sureta Steenkamp from the Elsies River community. Sureta, good morning to you. You were involved in the search for young Courtney. You have spoken out. I see the T-shirts that you're wearing has a montage of Courtney. And of course, today, judgment is expected to be completed. The community has rallied behind this family. Your thoughts at this point in time?
We as the community members, we want to get closure so that Courtney also can rest at peace, because it's been nearly 3 years and we want this to come to an end. And we want the family to know that we support them, because it's a little girl, 3 years old. She's just a little baby that was murdered.
What did the murder of Courtney, and not just Courtney, the murders of so many young girls across the Cape Flats? I think of Rasom, I think of Stasha Arends out in Mitchell's Plain. What has so many names that we can talk about? Just the community as a woman, as a mother. This has really rallied, and we've seen NGOs and interested groups coming on board in support, being out there with search parties when little children go missing.
Yes, because it's a great concern to us, because we are mothers, and if it should happen to me, I don't know what I will do, but we have the concern for the next mother. We have that love for the next mother, and we are a community standing together, and I love that about us, because we are a whole lot of people that came together with the case of Courtney, and we help each other out, and we know the pain. We didn't experience the pain, but just to imagine what should happen to your grandchild or your baby girl. And
So this idiotic moron has some issues with the mother, and he decided to unalive her child, her youngest daughter. What kind of bullshit is this? This is sick. Who does this? A psychopath, that's who. You got issues with the mother, so you take it out on the daughter? Malene Davis. Oh, I don't know that case, you know? Let me write it down. I don't know that case, babe. Wow. I'll check into it.
it makes you go crazy just to think about it. So
Because I have
we
my
are
notebook
standing
here, and every
together
time
because
I
we
do an
want to support
upload
the
or a
family.
live
We
with a
know
kid,
that it
check
hurts
off.
very much.
Thank you very much. Sureta Steenkamp is speaking to us as a concerned member of the Alsis River community. And of course, all eyes today will be on Judge Babalwa Mantame when she delivers the balance of her judgment. She started yesterday. 3 days have been set aside for judgment in this matter. And we understand that she is more than halfway through her 82-page judgment. And so we can expect this matter to be concluded today, but not just to give finality to the parents, Jonita Pieters, as well as Aaron Fourie, but also the community at large, South Africa at large, will be having a close watch on their television screens, on social media, etc., just to see justice being done. Because, as I've mentioned earlier on, 2017, a particularly grim year when it comes to the rights of children, the rights of women. We know that a number of women and children fall prey to violence, and oftentimes violence at the hands of those who are closest to them. In this matter, for example, Mortimer Saunders lived in the house with Courtney Pieters, and oftentimes it's the very people that young girls and young boys trust that end up being the perpetrators of heinous crimes.
Vanessa Puna, live for us in Cape Town. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting. I can't help but think about, remember the Gender Summit? I think it was Minister Michael Masuta who said that most of the perpetrators of such crimes are people that are known to the victim.
I'm thinking about the Vlakfontein case where 7 family members were killed, and it gets you wondering, should we be more circumspect about the people we allow into our homes?
Yeah. It's a good question to pose. What do you think, South Africa and those watching around the continent? Tell us in terms of allowing people in our homes, allowing them in our personal space, getting to know our kids. Should we be more, wary?
This way.
Yeah. Send us your thoughts at the agenda_.
Hell yeah, you should be more aware of it. For sure. For sure, for sure, for sure.
After careful consideration of the totality of evidence that was presented in this court is therefore satisfied that the state has proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. And the result, you are found guilty on count 1, that is rape on the main count. Number 2, you are found guilty on count 2 on murder on the main count.
And there we have it.
Of the man accused of raping and killing 3-year-old Courtney Pieters in Elsie's River is due to start in Cape Town today. Mortimer Saunders' murder trial is set for the Western Cape High Court. ESA's Leanne Jansen following that story. She joins us this morning. Leanne, a very good morning to you. Can you just take us back to this case, just for anybody who's not familiar with the death, the murder of this little child?
On the 4th of May 2017, Courtney Pieters was last seen playing outside her house in Elsie's River in Cape Town. She was gone for a week, missing for a week. Community members, police, neighborhood watchers from across Cape Town all rallied together to try and find the little girl. She was found just over a week later in Epping Industria in a shallow grave. Mortimer Saunders was arrested the next day. There's allegedly CCTV footage showing Saunders dumping what is believed to be Courtney Pieters' body in the shallow grave in Epping Industria. Now, his trial was scheduled to start earlier this month. That was postponed on the request of the defense. The defense wants to get a private pathologist to counter the state's evidence that has led to the rape charge against him. He faces 2 charges, one of rape and one of murder.
All right. And now we understand that the case was postponed to allow him to appoint a private pathologist, Leanne, to counter the state's evidence. Any idea what exactly he wants to counter at this stage?
We do know that he wants to counter parts of the post-mortem report that has led to the rape charge against him. So exactly what evidence that is, we'll have to wait to hear, or what evidence is presented by the state during the course of this trial. But we do know that it's part of the post-mortem report that alleges the rape of Courtney Pieters as well. There are also allegations that all her bones in her body had been broken in order to shove her in a bag and bury her in that shallow grave in Epping Industria. I think the line has just dropped, Yuveka, so I'm battling to hear whether you're still on the other side.
Wow. Very, very sad. Well, we know that he was found guilty. Not once, but twice. Thank God. And thank God that they caught him quick. He tried to play it off like, no, not me. She probably was talking to somebody out there around the corner. I saw her talking to the man next door. And then even help them look for the baby girl with the search team. He was right there helping them look. You know, a lot of times that's what the killers do. They the ones that did it, and they will help you look for your child. It's really crazy and pathetic. Justice was served. Yeah, it won't bring her back, but justice was served. Don't they do that? You know, like they would definitely help you look for your child, knowing that they was involved with taking your baby from you, taking your child. I just can't, I don't understand what's wrong with people, man. I just don't get it. You know, my maintenance worker, well, he's the painter. he was here over the weekend and he gave me a Bible. And I'm going to read it because he said a lot of things that I didn't know. And it was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Got the Bible over here. It's the New Testament too. I think it's the new one, or is it the old one? I don't know, but very nice Bible. And he said a few things. And he showed me a few scriptures in the Bible. He's a pastor, my painter. And I'm definitely gonna read it. Because he knows I do true crime. And I was showing him one of the cases that I was working on. And that's how, we came, to the topic of what he was showing me and stuff. And it's just a lot, but I'm definitely going to read that Bible. You know, it's crazy because we live in a world where it's evil, right? Where we have evil people, evil sins, people do evil things. And I be like, why is people doing what they do? Like, what makes them do these things? Is there like a light switch in their mind that says, okay, it's time to act a fool, or it's time to commit a sin? Like, why do they do these things? That's your question too, Yeah, like what makes people do? Like, why? What is the purpose of it? You don't think they know? They just act on impulse. They just act on shit. It's crazy, you know? But their day is coming. Oh, their day is coming. I used to say they belong in prison, these animals. I mean, they probably living good in prison. They probably better off in prison than they is out here sometimes. It's crazy. I want to see something. Hold on. Let me look something up. I could look it up on YouTube, actually.
Hey everyone, Lacey Green here for D News. Sociopathy is a type of mental disorder where a person literally does not have that pull in their heart, in their brain that prompts them to care about others. Sociopaths don't feel compassion and they don't feel fear. Dr. Martha Stout of Harvard Medical School describes sociopaths as people who can run free in the world doing and saying whatever they want to without feeling any remorse for it. To the sociopath, people are tools to achieve whatever they want. They're painfully self-interested and they can imitate empathy and will express compassion if it benefits them, but inside they're emotionally dulled, and so they may sometimes come off a bit callous. A few years ago, I met someone who had been formally diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, which is an umbrella term that includes sociopathy. And when I met him, I was drawn to him through our shared interests and our shared sense of humor, but I always felt like there was something a little off. Although the circumstances were set for us to be pals, years went by and things never stopped feeling sort of cold and weird. Later in our friendship, he told me about his diagnosis, and I was fascinated. So I started reading up, including Dr. Stout's book, The Sociopath Next Door. There's been a lot of research conducted on this condition, sociopathy. We know now that a sociopath's brain is actually neurologically different than the average person. There have been several fMRI studies where patients are shown horrific imagery, bloody stabbings, shootings, and in most people, the amygdala lights up, the part of the brain that's responsible for fear and concern for others. But in sociopathic patients, the amygdala stays dark. There's no activity. They're actually incapable of feeling for other people. So these findings made me feel a little bit confused about my friend. Like, should I feel bad for him or should I feel terrified? Of course, we usually hear about sociopaths as serial killers, Ted Bundy types, and it's true that most serial killers are sociopaths, but most sociopaths aren't serial killers, obviously, or we'd probably all be dead. It's thought that serial killers are made when a sociopath is born into a grave environment that maybe begets some bloodlust or aggression. Many famous cult leaders and dictators were sociopaths, like Reverend Jim Jones, who somehow convinced 900 people to commit mass suicide. Dr. Stout also found in her research that 1 out of 10 Wall Street professionals is a sociopath, which is more than 2 times the rate of the rest of society. We hear about scandal after scandal on Wall Street, people who lie and cheat endlessly to be on top. But lots of sociopathic behavior is less clever. It's more benign, manipulating a partner, lying a lot, lashing out and being abusive, responding with callous indifference to a sensitive issue, or hurting people without understanding why it's wrong.
So I had looked up what's
yourself
inside a
asking, what is
psychopath's
wrong with
mind.
this person? Here's a little food for thought. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you next time on D News.
But she wasn't really what I was
Excuse me, would you mind taking a picture of us?
Oh, no problem.
Thanks.
Ooh, yes, problem. You need Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with tons of storage, so you can take all the pictures.
Who wants to face a guy like that? Would you want to face a guy like that? That's what it'll be like when he's on the streets. He has no feelings.
Hey, I'm Pete. I'm a YouTuber and recently hit 100K subs.
So the psychopath, 90%, damn, says narcissistic. It's all about them. Yeah, they feel nothing for nobody else. It's all about them. They have no passion, I guess. They have no empathy. They don't have no love. It's just, because somebody live like that. That's a twisted, sad world to live in. I'm just thinking like, damn, I couldn't see myself that's just twisted, man. They have part of a brain missing. They must, because yeah.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees? If so, you need StreamYard on it.
What the science is showing us is the universe appears to be alive. It appears to be conscious.
I'm not going to play this whole thing, y'all. But, boy. You can definitely find psychopaths everywhere. And that just proves that this video, one of them was in Africa. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But I want to say thank you for watching. I just wanted to show y'all, give you guys a story about this poor little girl, this adorable little girl, who had to go through this, man. And just to show that, listen, it happened in Africa, it happens in the Bronx, it happens in Brooklyn, it happens in California, it happens in Texas, it happens in Mexico. It happens everywhere. And that's why we always have to be eyes open and aware at all times. Because things like this happens. Psychopaths are on the loose all the time. These narcissistic behaviors they got, listen, you'll never know who a person is. You could even look up their background and let's say they ain't ever been to prison, they ain't never committed a crime, they ain't never done none of that. Because we always say, look up their background, girl, look up, because I'm always saying that too, look up their background. It is important to look up a background. Don't, that's very important. Do that. But you could have the same motherfucker who ain't never been in prison, who ain't never had a speeding ticket, and he could be a serial killer. So I say, go with this. Go with that instinct. That lady felt uncomfortable already. She had that instant. She didn't feel comfortable. She said it. She didn't feel comfortable. That was in the first part of the video. He already was giving her the creepy vibe. That was the red flag right there. That was that instant that God was telling her something's not right with this man. You know, when you get that little instant, go with that. Go with your instinct. Always go with that. I'm telling you, it never fails you. I'm real grateful that they caught him quick and it wasn't an ongoing case that we were doing. You know what I'm saying? It's not an ongoing cold case. I guess out there they ain't playing. And I wish it was like that everywhere. They must got good police out there because they caught that son of a bitch real fast. 9 days she was missing, and baby, 9 days his ass was caught. I do want to do a prayer for this little girl though. So let's do our prayer and then we'll close it tonight. Yeah, she definitely, yeah. I mean, this little girl, he did what he did. He abused her and then pinned it, awed her and, oh God, chopped her body, did all those things. She would never have a life. She wasn't even in school yet. She was just about probably to start school. You know what I mean? She would never have a life. She would never have her own kids. She would never start to go to graduation. She would never see her parents again, her mother, her father, her brother, her sister. At least not on it. But she is safe and better off, sorry to say that, in heaven than on earth. Because God knows this wild society we got is just getting worse and worse. So let's just say a prayer for her. Just pray to yourself. You know how we do it on Brooklyn Squad. And I do want to send my condolences to her family and her loved ones. We over here, we are so sorry that the family had to go through that. No family should ever have to endure that. No family, nobody. And thank you for the police who did their job and did it right. Wish it was like that everywhere. Amen. Thank you for joining. And I will see y'all tomorrow with another case of a young lady who goes on a road trip with her ex-boyfriend, children father, and winds up missing. And this is an ongoing case because she is still missing. So I will see y'all tomorrow. Good night. Good night, Good night, Kathy B. And good night, Cherish.